I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at my website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is Priorities Are Shifting. And that can be occurring now for two very good reasons, which I'll get into in a moment. But the net effect of it would be that as priorities shift in our lives, it can create an almost automatic chain reaction of change in other people as well. And so priorities shift, and these would be priorities that had been around for a while. Or, not everything can be the top priority, so that's why they're shifting, because now maybe some things become more important than others. And as you decide which ones are the most important to you, that will cause a chain reaction among other people or other organizations. And so what it will do is, you could almost describe it as shifting sands. In other words, when sands shift, they do it in a gentle way, but it simply means that there's going to be a different outcome one way or another. Things are not going to stay the same. And that's what could be happening now for two very good reasons. So as your priorities shift right now, after very careful consideration, these are not whimsical, impulsive things that are going on. These are things that are perhaps more highly directed or more important to you now. That's why the priorities are shifting. The first reason for that, though, is that an unusual thing is happening among the planets today, and it is that there are 10 planets up there, and 9 of them are only in one half of your chart. And so one half of your chart is loaded with a lot of planets, so there's a lot of action in that direction. And then the other half of your chart has almost no planets in it. In fact, it only has one planet in it. And so, it's very busy in one part of your life and pretty quiet in another part of your life. Well, that can be somewhat easy to see right now. The second reason why priorities can be shifting, though, is a little bit harder to discern, so I'm going to try to describe it in general terms for you. But it's based on what the planets are doing. And the funny thing is that as of tomorrow, 6 planets will all have entered the last decan of their sign. In other words, they will be at 20 degrees or later in their sign. And that means that they are going to be sub-ruled by a completely different planet than the overall ruler of the sign. And that being sub-ruled by some other planet can help you clarify your priorities a little bit more, and can lead you that's what sets up a chain reaction, because there's different things going on now than there used to be as the planets move into that last decan or 10 degrees of the sign. And it starts, first of all, with Venus tomorrow. And because Venus is at 19 degrees today, and tomorrow it will be at 20 degrees of Scorpio. And Venus is a very good planet, and it's in a fixed financial sign. That could be nice for people. But Venus and in Scorpio also rules justice that is done. And it could be the right kind of justice, first of all, and it could also be somewhat fairly dispersed, and it could have been a long time coming as well, after careful judgment and consideration. And so since Scorpio rules justice, we can say that Venus in Scorpio, particularly in that last decan, is going to represent that justice will be done and some people will be moving on. And there's no backtracking. That really will happen. And then the next planet, the second planet that is going to be at 20 degrees tomorrow, is Mars. Because Mars is sextiling Venus. Mars is at 19 degrees of Sagittarius today. Tomorrow it will be at the 20th degree. And Mars is the ruler of one fire sign, Aries, and it's dynamic and impulsive and likes to be first and has a pioneering spirit. And in Sagittarius, it could indicate some sort of conflict. but because Mars rules war, and that conflict could be at a broad level. It could be involving international organizations, that's what Sagittarius rules, or foreign countries that are in conflict right now. And the conflict may get worse before it gets better. And so there's the possibility of that. Remember, our priorities are changing for reasons, good reasons. And these are some of the things that could be prompting you to realign your priorities. Another planet is also in Sagittarius, and it too is in the last decan, and that is the Sun. The Sun is at 28 degrees of Sagittarius today. And so tomorrow it will be at the 29th degree of Fate in Sagittarius. And, the Sun is the giver of life, and it's a really good influence in our lives. And so it can represent some sort of new start that you want to make. And the new start could be based on the way your priorities are shifting a little bit right now. And that would be just fine. Timing would be pretty good on that. So that would be great. A fourth planet that is also at in the last decan is Pluto, which is in Capricorn. And Capricorn, Pluto is at the 29th degree of Fate in Capricorn. And that simply means that careers are going to change now. And there really is no going back. In other words, if somebody retires, or they resign, or their job is eliminated in some way due to economic conditions, then certainly their career is going to change, and it would be a somewhat fateful change. There's no going back. They would be able to be free to go in new directions, which would be great. This would be after a rather long time, though. These would not be people that had just arrived on the scene. They would be people that had been around for a while, and their careers would be on or over, and Pluto at the 29th degree of Fate would indicate perhaps that they would be over. But that doesn't mean somebody couldn't have a new career. That would be fine too. Another planet that is in the last decan of their sign is Neptune in Pisces. And that Neptune is at 25 degrees of Pisces, and it's the only planet at home in the sign it rules, so it's very strong because it's direct. Saturn is also in the sign. And so two things could happen because Pisces is a double-bodied sign. And one of them is that covert activities or things that had been hidden behind the scenes can be revealed. And that information can be coming out. And some people could say, oh, I knew that all along, or I suspected that all along. And other people could be honestly very surprised at what they're learning about behind the scenes. But at the same time, because Pisces is a double-bodied sign, and because Neptune is the ruler of the sign and it rules dreams, and Saturn is in that sign as well, and Saturn is the planet of time and things of long duration. And so that simply means that there could be a dream that you or someone else may have had for a very long time. And there is the possibility it would be coming true now as your priorities shift. And the reason why is that Venus is in Scorpio, and that Venus is trining Neptune, that's wonderful, and Saturn as well. And so that can be very positive. But it would be as the result of priorities that are shifting. I mean, it's one thing to have a dream for a long time, it's another thing to make it come true. And this is a time when possibly people are going to decide, this is it, it's time to make it come true. And they would be right about that. So the timing is very good. And then finally there's one last planet that is in the last decan of their sign, and it's Uranus, which is at 20 degrees of Taurus, a fixed financial sign. Now remember, I started this by describing Venus tomorrow, which will be at 20 degrees of Scorpio. And so it will be exactly opposing Uranus, which is at 20 degrees of Taurus. The difference between these two, besides the harsh opposition, is that Uranus is retrograde, or going backward. Venus is going forward. And so there can be a sudden surprising change in the money. And what kind of money would this be? It would be money that you were expecting in one way or another, or money that was owed to you, or you think it was owed to you, or it could be an income tax refund, or you could win the lottery, whatever. No matter what kind of money you think is coming your way, it won't be as much as you thought. It just won't. Now it might be because, the tax man's going to come along and take money out before you even get it. That could happen. It could just also happen that values have changed, or priorities have changed or shifted in some way, and these just aren't the good old days. And there isn't enough money to go around. And so that could happen as well. So those planets, and so many of them, now, as of tomorrow, going to be in that last decan of their signs, sub-ruled by different planets, are the reason why our priorities can be shifting. Okay, what does this mean to all? Oh, and by the way, the nice thing about all of this is that as our priorities are shifting, and a chain reaction or change somewhere in your life is inevitable because of your changing priorities, I would say that no matter what the fallout is, it's going to turn out to be a blessing in disguise. And you look back and say, I'm glad that happened. Because it will be a blessing in disguise for you. Pretty sure that that's how it's all going to pan out. And the reason why is because Venus and Neptune, two very idealistic and good planets, are trining each other, and Saturn is backing both of them up. So no matter what happens, just remember, it's going to be a blessing in disguise anyway. You look at it that way eventually. So good luck. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries, for you. Aries, this is a time when sure you can be supercharged because the sun and Mars, your own ruler, are in Sagittarius trining your sun. And so that can make you sort of want to get up and go, Aries. And you may need to, because there can be conflict somewhere in your life. Remember, that's what that Mars in Sagittarius represents. And that would be conflict at a large level, or in an international sphere of some sort, or in a foreign country. So it might not be in your backyard, but it could be something that you would want to attend to, or you may shift that might be the reason why you're shifting your priorities in one way or another. So I think that you should expect some sort of change coming up, Aries. And it might just suddenly arrive on your doorstep. It might be something that, well, you thought about in the past, but then suddenly the opportunity arises for you to be involved in some sort of shifting priorities that make you much more active than you had planned on being. And I think that would be fine with you, Aries. I mean, I think that would be okay. Aries' gift to the world is that they are very good at making new starts. It is not a finishing sign. The follow-through is not what they care about. What they care about is getting going, because Aries is the sign of the pioneer. So there may be some effort or some choice that you make freely, Aries, that even if it involves hard work or sacrifice, it could be something that you feel strongly about and that you want to do, and I think you'd be successful at it too. And remember, even if it was hard, it would still be a blessing. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. Well, Taurus, what this means for you is that the money isn't going to be there the way you thought it would be. Doesn't mean money can't be coming your way. But I think that it isn't just people's careers that are changing, and priorities that are changing. It is that the world economic condition is changing. And I would say there's a little more shrinkage than people are willing to admit. But it's there. And, people who are heads of corporations, government agencies, or institutions who are looking sort of into the future, and particularly their future budgets, they have to plan ahead. And so if there's some sort of money that you thought was going to be coming your way, because Jupiter is in Taurus in your sign, I mean, that's pretty good. And Pluto in Capricorn is trining Jupiter and Uranus in your sign, Taurus. But Venus in Scorpio is exactly opposing Uranus in your sign. So there's going to be some surprising financial upset somewhere in your life, Taurus. And I think it is going to represent some sort of shortage in one way or another. Now the shortage could come because, you know, Uncle Sam gets his tax revenues before you get your income from something. But on the other hand, it can also be that your costs have just gone up a lot. So has everyone else's. And, you know, with rising costs, it sort of hits the budget pretty hard. And that could happen to you too, Taurus. And so there isn't going to be the kind of money that you were expecting for one reason or another. But that doesn't mean that the world is ending or anything, Taurus. And also, I don't think a Taurus is ever broke. They're real good at working hard and socking it away. So I think you're going to be okay. But I don't think that there's, you know, priorities are shifting, whether it's your priority or your employer's priority. I just don't think the money is going to quite be as plentiful as you were expecting. But it'll still be a blessing in disguise in one way or another. Maybe it will motivate you to go in a different direction and maybe create a new career. Who knows? You would be successful at that if you wanted to be. Taurus doesn't, it's a fixed sign. Taurus don't let too many things stop them. They just go ahead if they want to. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini. This is a time, Gemini, that there are no planets in air signs again. That was the same thing last week. But Gemini, this is still a time when I think that a lot of people are going to have their priorities shift. And that will, after a very careful consideration of what or who is most important to them, then they will make decisions after careful consideration that will almost set up some sort of chain reaction that leads to change. And you are not immune, Gemini. It's going to happen to you too. And it may have already been in the works. It may have already started in one. There could be a change in your sign. Rules change, Gemini. And so Geminis are very versatile and adaptable. And whatever is coming at them, somehow they can sort of catch on to it or do something with it. Geminis don't let too many things stop them. And they're so adaptable that they are very good at going around something. Or doing something, even if it is a daunting task, they could do it in smaller steps over a longer period of time. Same success. It would just be a different way of achieving that success. And you could do that, Gemini. But there are really no new, this idea of priority shifting has nothing to do with new ideas. See, no planet in air signs. There's no great creative ideas spouting around right now. But this shift in priorities is based on careful consideration of ideas or desires or plans or goals that we all have had for a while. And, you know, as we're looking around at the world, our priorities can be shifting because we're not in control of everything that's happening. But we have to be in control of ourselves because that's our job. And so, Gemini, you may be either scaling back and doing a little less right now and wanting to have some downtime to rethink or shift your priorities or plan something a little different for 2024 than you had originally planned. This does not mean that you're necessarily thinking of taking life easy. It just means that there's only 24 hours in the day, and so you might be thinking a little bit more carefully about how much time you can afford to spend on one thing or another. And that's wise of you to be planning your time and really be honest about that, Gemini, because you're going to have a great year next year. But you can't be everywhere at once. So you'll have to, that's why your priorities can be shifting. The same thing for all of us. We can't do everything. And so we have to think of, okay, what's most important to us now? And I think this is a good time for you to sit down and try to come up with that answer, Gemini. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Cancer. This is a time, Cancer, when you can be pretty close to, well, I want to say heaven, but I don't mean that's where you're going. What I mean is you could be pretty close to having a very fond dream come true. And the reason why is that it might be your priorities that have shifted. And what kind of priorities would they be? Emotional ones, because your sign rules our emotions. And so you may be looking at what your needs are, or you may be asking, you may be listening to your heart instead of your head, and just listening to your heart and trying to figure out, what will make me happy. And that's a good thing that you should be doing right now, Cancer, because Venus is in Scorpio trining your sun. So you would want to be fair. You would want to see that justice is done. And that simply means that if you've had a dream for a long time and someone else has too, perhaps you've both waited long enough. And maybe even too long. And, it isn't just money that counts, it's time. And nobody has enough time. And that's because it just goes along the same for everybody. Nobody's got a handle on time. You can't corner the market on that. And so this is a time with Venus in Scorpio trining your sun, that not only can more money be coming your way, and it would be based on love, either the love that's coming from somebody or the love that you feel like giving to somebody. But the finances will work out just fine. And if you are wondering, as you are thinking of changing your priorities and getting a little bit more serious about making a fond dream come true, if you're wondering if there would ever be any arguments about money, the answer is no, there wouldn't be. And I think it's because somewhere, Cancer, the feelings that you have for somebody are very closely akin to the feelings that they have for you. So why argue? No reason to. So there's somebody in your life, Cancer, that is pretty nice, and you know it. And what are you waiting for? If you can shift your priorities to spend more time with somebody who makes you happy, why wouldn't you do it? There's no excuse. Time is marching on. So don't let your happiness pass you by. That's all I'm saying, Cancer. Cancers are a little shy. This is not the time for that. Because, you got to make your move. And Neptune, which is the strongest planet in the heavens right now, because it's at home in the sign it rules and it's direct, is trining your sun along with Saturn, which is direct and trining your sun, and Venus in Scorpio is as well. And since these planets, Neptune and Venus, by tomorrow are both going to be in the last decans of their sign, but trining each other, it's sort of like the clock is ticking, and it's time for you to make up your mind, Cancer. And I don't think that's too hard for a Cancer. Cancers have very genuine feelings. They don't have anything to really sort through. They know who they like, or they know who they care about. And Cancers have deep feelings, and all the water signs do. And so this is a very good time for you, Cancer. But if your priorities are shifting, I would say it would really be a blessing in disguise if you did something about that. This is a good time for it. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Leo. Well, Leo, just like Sagittarius and Aries, you could be supercharged right now. And that is because the Sun and Mars in Sagittarius are trining your Sun. And by the way, the Moon is in Aries, and it too is trining your Sun. There's 3 planets in fire signs. I'm sorry I didn't mention that before. But anyway, since they're all trining your Sun, Leo, that's pretty good for you. Except that Mars in Sagittarius can indicate conflict, particularly the kind of conflict that is on a pretty high level, like among the courts or international organizations, or something that involves foreign countries in one way or another. And remember, conflict is another word for war. And so you would want to be careful that you don't step into something that's a little bigger than you are, Leo. Because, you know, Mars is not the only planet in Sagittarius. The Sun is there as well. It's trining your Sun. And the Moon is in Aries, and they're trining your Sun. You could really get off to a good start on something, but you shouldn't be in such a hurry that you don't investigate it before you try to go forward. You should do the investigation first. Because fire signs like to, they like to sort of get into motion as quickly as they can. But that could trip you up. If you're too fast, it could trip you up. And so you need to gauge yourself, shift some of your priorities around, maybe try something a little bit first, get your toe in the water first, see how that feels, and then jump in. But I wouldn't jump in at the deep end of the pool right now, Leo, unless you've done some serious investigation first. Just for safety's sake, that's all. Because the stars are with you as far as starting something new. If you want to start something new, it's a go, Leo. Go right ahead and do it. I'm just saying, look it over a little bit more, just to make sure you're in the right spot. Because everybody's priorities are shifting right now. So yours can't be too. But just do not rush in where angels fear to tread, Leo. Look before you leap. And I think you'll do just fine. And if you're thinking of sort of partying in a hearty way over the holidays, I'd be a little careful about that. Still, do not be walking down a dark alley anywhere. You could easily become a victim. So just be real careful what you do. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time, Virgo, when there are still 3 planets trining each other in the earth signs, because Jupiter and Uranus, which are both retrograde, are trining your Sun, and Pluto, which is at the 29th degree of fading Capricorn, is also trining your Sun. Well, that's good, because it is an indication, Virgo, that your career is at some sort of culmination point. Okay, and it doesn't mean it's over. It simply means that you may be looking at your career and thinking, well, if I go forward, it's going to take more responsibility and it's going to take more time, and I'm not sure that the financial payback is worth it. Your sign rules analysis. You would analyze everything, Virgo. But on the other hand, these planets, Jupiter and Uranus, are retrograde. And that means that as far as your current career goes, without any advancement, the finances could shift or change anyway. Because those 2 planets in Taurus, fixed financial side, are both retrograde. And remember, Uranus is in that last decan. It's at 20 degrees, and that simply means there can be a surprising change or fluctuation in income or investments. And so, Virgo, if I were you, I would try to be real practical. And they say time is money. So if you spend your time on something that is proving that you think would be more challenging, that probably would be equally rewarding for you. And it might be that you have to put in some sweat equity first, really get something going, but the payback could be pretty good down the road. It wouldn't come right away. but it would come down the road. And Virgo, remember that as our priorities shift now, and they set up sort of a chain reaction that one way or another is going to create change for all of us, remember that no matter what happens, it will turn out to be a blessing in disguise. And so equally, if you're thinking not of starting something, but of ending something, it's going to be a blessing in disguise. You will be glad you ended it. And in fact, the ending would bring you relief. The ending would probably improve your health, because you wouldn't have as much to worry about anymore. And some sort of ending would free you up and give you a much broader span of time to decide what you want to do in your future. That's pretty nice. It's like you could have a few more cards in the deck that you'd be holding. So an ending that may be coming your way, Virgo, maybe it's already arrived. It's going to be a blessing in disguise. And I think that you will appreciate that, actually, as time goes on. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? I mean a Libra. Libra. This is a time, Libra, since there are no planets in the air signs, when this isn't a time for creative thinking. Oh, darn it, because Libras are so good at creative thinking, and Libras are very artistic. And I think maybe it's just the holidays, and people have their mind on other things at the holidays. And so they, maybe you're full of great ideas, Libra, or you have great plans for next year, and you should have. There's 2 eclipses in your sign. You're going to have a good year. But still, Libra, if you could just sort of calm down a little bit and think about things that can be truths that you have been trying to avoid. Now, by that I mean Pluto is the only planet at the 29th degree of fate in Capricorn. And Capricorn rules our careers, and it rules large corporations, government agencies, and institutions, and the people at the top in them. And that planet at a 29th degree of fate is squaring your sun, Libra. And so there is an indication, it might be your career, but if not, it's somebody else's career that you know, which is coming to an end. And this would be a very good time for you to be as quiet as you can about that, Libra, because it's happening perhaps to someone else, and there could be more to that story, but I don't think that you should inquire. You should just sort of let things alone and let people go on, because everybody's priorities are changing, including yours. And so in the meantime, that simply means that you may have a little bit more time not to reflect on what's happening to others, but to reflect a little bit more on trying to prioritize what is most important to you as you go forward in 2024. Because no one's going to have enough time to do everything. When Jupiter goes into Gemini in the summertime, oh, are we going to be busy. And it'll be tons of fun, too. But nobody's going to have enough time to do everything they want. So we will have to prioritize. And that's why priorities are shifting now. Because, next year is a different kind of year. And so I will mention this. I wasn't actually going to do that today, but one of the reasons that priorities are changing now, including yours, Libra, is because the world is changing. And it is becoming a more dangerous place. And have any wars stopped? No. Have they gotten worse? Yes. Are there more threats of war now? Yes. Well, as the world is looking, as everyday people like you and me, as we're reading the news and we're looking at all the news about conflict or potential conflict that can be happening, and it's a sort of a life or death kind of conflict, it makes people shift their priorities to what is in their hearts, and what or who is more important to them. And that's the overall reason why priorities are changing now. It isn't just the 9 planets on one side or the 6 planets that are all in the last decan. It is that I think all of us share some anxiety about the precarious position of countries throughout the world. And conflict is here. It's among us. It's not declining, it's growing. And it makes you value love a lot more when you see the threat of it being extinguished. That's what we're really seeing now. And the priorities are shifting because love is so much more important than it used to be. And time is short. And so, Libra, your sign is ruled by Venus, and Venus rules love. That's why I'm mentioning it to you. So sit down and think a little bit more about who or what you really love. And don't dawdle. Value it highly. We all will be doing that more and more now because of the threat of it being torn away or destroyed is greater now than it has been in many, many years. And to say that a war is happening in another country and it doesn't affect you and me, yeah, you know, it's like we would have our head in the sand if we were thinking that. You know, we are the family of man. It affects all of us. So, Libra, your sign rules love. And you can't live without it, Libra. So don't put it off. Do what you can. And share. Your sign rules partnership. So you go right to it. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, sorry I went so long on that. Scorpio, Venus is in your sign. Oh, lucky you. I hope you've been enjoying that. You could be very popular, Scorpio, much more popular than you realize. Or you could just be in a good mood. Venus is a great planet. And also there is some more money that can be coming to you. I don't know if you already know that. You may not. But it's still, there is more money coming to you. I don't have my watch set as to when you're going to get it. But it is on its way. And you will get it. Which is great. And so you may decide, if you have a few extra dollars around somewhere, Scorpio, that you want to spend it on someone you love or on doing something that you love doing. That would be nice too. And I think that you should, Scorpio, because you have the ability right now to make a long-held dream come true. Because Neptune in Pisces is trining your Sun and Venus. In fact, Venus is going to be at 20 degrees tomorrow and Neptune is at 25, so in about 2 or 3 days, sometime in this next week, those two planets will be in perfect trine to each other, Venus and Neptune. So if you have a long-held dream that you've been waiting to make come true, Scorpio, I'd do something about it if I were you. The timing is real good on that right now, probably better than it's going to be for a long time. And that is because Saturn is also in Pisces, trining your Sun. And our priorities are shifting due to ideas and plans and thoughts and feelings we've had for a long time that we have already carefully considered. And that's why the priorities are changing now. Not only because the world is changing, but because we can see that something that we're doing or some person that we love is very important to us. And why not share that? Why not enjoy it? Why not be blessed by it? So this is a good time for you, Scorpio. Put your best foot forward because somebody's really going to like that. Or it could just do what you love and hopefully be with who you love. Because there's no greater gift in the world than love. and you can't buy it. It has to come from the heart. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarius? Well, Sagittarius. This is a time, Sagittarius, when, ooh, you've probably got a lot on your plate. And the reason why is because Mars is in your sign, but so is the Sun. And as of tomorrow, they'll both be in that last decan of Sagittarius, which is subruled by the Sun. And so Sagittarius, for sure, I'm sure you're looking forward to reprioritizing or to having your priorities shift so that you can start something new either right away or right after the first of the year. I think you're going to take a step forward, or you're going to take a trip that you have been anticipating. That would tend to work out really well for you, Sagittarius. It might even, if you were going on a trip, you would be busier than you want to be on that trip. And so think about, make sure you're taking your vitamins with you, Sagittarius. You're going to need them because you would be very busy. But also, if you were thinking of taking on some sort of a challenge, that, in other words, a job that needed to be done, or something, even in an emergency situation where you wanted to jump in and help out, you could do it, Sagittarius. You would certainly have the energy and the drive with Mars in your sign to do that. And the moon in Aries is trining your sun. There is somebody around, and it could be a woman, who may be wanting you to make a new start, a new beginning. And if I were you, I would listen a little more closely to what she has to say, Sagittarius. The moon rules women, and it's in Aries, the sign of new beginnings. I would listen to that a little bit more closely. Because maybe that person has a pioneering spirit and wants to get something off the ground. But you're the one that's got the energy to make and have the follow through to make sure it works. It sounds like a pretty good deal, actually. So Sagittarius, think a little bit more about getting in there and working with somebody else and achieving something. And even if it's hard, I don't think anything's going to stop you right now. Not with Mars in your sign. So if I were you, I would take on a challenge right now, Sagittarius. I don't think you have anything to lose, except you're going to get tired, but you have enough energy. I don't think that's going to stop you at all, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time, Capricorn, when there is some sort of fateful change in the direction of your life that is coming up. And it is because Pluto is in your sign. It's the only planet that is at the 29th degree of fate. And it took almost 20 years for it to get there. Because, boy, is Pluto a slow mover. But in the years that it has been in your sign, you have seen the explosion and the growth in big business and big government and big institutions. Because your sign rules bureaucracy. And that's what developed throughout the world and through a lot of different countries. The bureaucracies just kept building and building and building during the years when Pluto was in your sign. But Pluto is going into Aquarius. And I think it is going to be there till June, and then it comes back in your sign for a couple of months, and then back into Aquarius. And so what I'm trying to say, Capricorn, is that the world is going to change slowly, and there will be a deep systemic change. And maybe this time, when our priorities are just shifting a little bit, is the start of a deeper change for everybody. Pluto is a co-ruler of Scorpio, and Scorpio rules stealth, and Pluto rules truth, irrevocable truth. When it finally comes out, it's the whole truth. And so you might be at a point where you are really taking stock of yourself and of what you've done in your life and what you've achieved in your career. You may have had more than one career, because Capricorns just keep working at something. Even if it's a hobby, they work hard at it. And you may be deciding to channel your forces in a more productive way as the year goes forward, simply because there are 2 new moons in your sign in 2024. And you may have felt that this year you had a lot of preparatory work to do, or things that where you sort of needed to, clear things out, or simplify your life in some way, or attend to things that you'd been ignoring for a while. Maybe you had to do that too this year. But it was all in preparation for something that is going to help you move forward in 2024, Capricorn. And no matter what tiny little thing you start in January, it is going to grow and grow and grow. So that by a year from now, in next December, it's not going to be tiny anymore. You're going to succeed, Capricorn. You may not achieve your goal. That doesn't bother Capricorn. Capricorns know they have time on their side. They've lived a long time. So it isn't that you have to be in a hurry, Capricorn, but this will be a year of change coming up for you, and it's one that you are more than well prepared for. And it could involve something that you've, like that long-held dream that a lot of people know is still out there that they haven't done anything about. This is when people need to start shifting their priorities so that they can do something about their long-held dreams. Because we don't know how the world is going to end up. So what are we waiting for? We should get on with our lives. And so should you, Capricorn. So Saturn is your ruler. It's in Pisces, and it is sextiling your sun. That's a very good place for it to be, because it means you can take your time but still be very serious about something and just get better and better organized. But that's going to put you right on this road in 2024 that propels you forward. Not fast, of course. Capricorns do not like moving fast. They like to be steady. But you're going to go forward anyway, Capricorn. And this time I would say it's for real. And you're ready for it. No excuses. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius. This is time, Aquarius, since there are no planets in the air signs again, when you have to be a little bit more careful as the year is ending now about shifting priorities in your life, and it may be due to financial concerns. And the reason why is that Venus is in Scorpio squaring your sun, and Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus are squaring your sun as well, and Uranus is your own ruler. And they're retrograde. So I think there's going to be some sort of surprising change in the money, Aquarius. And it could be that there can be a wild fluctuation in the value of an investment, because Taurus rules investments. So that could happen, up or down or both. Who knows? Or it could simply be that you are wanting to expand creatively, and you're wondering if you have enough money to do that. Not just to express your own talents, but perhaps to hire other people as a team to work on something that you're really interested in. And you may be saying to yourself, ooh, where am I going to get the money to do all that? Well, I'm sorry to say I don't have an answer to that right at the moment, but I'm pretty sure you could find the money, Aquarius, as the year goes on. Because there's 2 eclipses in Libra that are going to trine your sun, so you can pick up new partners. They would have some money, and they might. And if you've got the talent and they've got the money, that is a really good combination. They would be interested in you. And on top of that, Jupiter is coming into Gemini, and Gemini rules temporary or part-time things, and that too will be trining your sun. And so it means that if you wanted to just do part of something and and maybe with just one or two people and sort of try to get it off the ground, you may get through that preparatory stage, say in the first 6 months of 2024, and then when Jupiter comes into Gemini and trines your sun, then it could really expand. That type of thing. But you wouldn't necessarily have to be all your own money to do it, Aquarius. In fact, I suggest that if you were waiting to have to pay for it all yourself, it may not happen. But if you could get some startup going and get something produced as a prototype or just something to begin with, just a good idea that people will listen to, that you want to promote, I think that you could be successful next year. And this is a time when if you change your priorities a little bit, maybe you could open up that window of opportunity a little bit and do better in 2024. Even if you don't think you have enough money to make your dream come true, I think you could attract it. It's the idea, it's the creativity that you do have, Aquarius, and that's what you need to develop. So I hope you take that seriously. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Pisces. This is a time, Pisces, when I think that there's just one word I think that would describe you over the holidays. And the word is beloved. Someone is going to think of you as their beloved. Or it might be you that is in your mind. You can be, and in your heart, you can be thinking of someone else as your beloved. And that is because Venus is in Scorpio, trining your sun, so justice would be done. It would seem to indicate something, a dream that had been around a very long time. You know, Saturn's transit is 28 to 30 years. It gets around a chart at the age of 28 to 30. That's one trip around a chart, their first. And then the only second time it gets back to the place where you're born is at 58 or 60. You know, so it takes 28 to 30 years to get around a chart once. And, you know, it can be that something or someone or some idea that you have had for a very, very long time, even as long as 28 to 30 years, has withstood the test of time. It's still there. And if it involves another person, then they may think of you as their beloved, but you could be thinking the same way about them. And you would both be right. So I hope the waiting ends. There's been enough of it. And I guess if you wait long enough to have a dream come true, you really appreciate it when it happens. And then nothing else matters. You know, the things that cause other people strife, they can go by the wayside. Those aren't important. What's important in your life, Pisces, somewhere, it's in your heart, is your beloved. The question is, are you with them or not? But if I were you, I would try to get as close to them as possible now, because they are yearning for the same thing, to be close to you. And it's the right time. You both waited long enough. So, Pisces, good luck. I think, remember, for all of us, as our priorities shift and create sort of a chain reaction of other changes, after careful consideration, it simply means that no matter what happens, it'll be a blessing in disguise. You know, good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to turn out to be a blessing in disguise. You know, so whatever happens, look for the silver lining. It will be there. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show on my Karen Campbell YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to it and tell your friends about it, I'd be happy to send it to you every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And in the meantime, if you want to read the blog on my on my STARBORN Institute website, when you open that up and it says it's unsafe, just hit the advanced button, go to the bottom, and then it'll open up the website where you can read a blog that will explain a little bit more in depth about the theme of each week's show. So in the meantime, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and I wish you a lot of love. It's very precious. Just remember, money can't buy it. It's from one heart to another. And it's the greatest gift of all. Just hold that thought. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next week. Bye.